Let's focus on the other game. Many thought, second leg, it'll be done and dusted. Dead rubber, Manchester City against Borussia Dortmund. Not the case, though. City do have that 2-1 lead going into the tie, Jurgen. It's going to be... There's something very appealing about this match, isn't there?
Yeah, I think both matches are actually very similar because, Liverpool still has a chance, still in there, and I totally agree with Craig. You've got to come out there, 200 miles an hour and go at them. Don't give them any space, don't give them any moment to breathe, and be highly aggressive and find your own rhythm and find your own chances. And the same way with Dortmund. Dortmund has nothing to lose going into the second leg. The big favorites is Manchester City. Obviously, it's a very, very good team. But it's also a team that has problems when you put them under pressure. You don't give them space. You don't let them pass around you all over the place. And you find ways also to break them down. I think they're vulnerable with set pieces, especially corners from the side, crosses from the side. With Haaland, this is now a really great opportunity to show up, and show the world that rightfully everybody's talking about him. So I think that it will be two very interesting games, and both Dortmund and Liverpool have a chance still to go through, but it will be a lot of work, and they need to be confident. They need to be very aggressive and show energy from the first second on.
It's only Manchester City here that can have any egg on their face.
Well, that's like you're going to say. Borussia Dortmund going there with nothing to lose.
Yeah. They've got to change a manager coming up, and they're struggling to get in the top four.
Yeah,
they won at the weekend, but they're struggling. But they've got the freedom. Manchester City here have the big custard pie, the big egg in the face. There's a lot of hacks out there, a lot of journalists waiting with the pen or the keyboard ready already for the headline about Guardiola. Not because they dislike him, but because that has been a story.
Yes.
A continuous story since he left Barcelona. And it hasn't gone away. Last year's exit to Lyon hasn't helped either. The exit, the way they went out to Liverpool, particularly in that first leg defeat at Anfield the year they went out, they were atrocious. And so there's a lot of people, I think, sitting there going, right, this is a potential banana skin. It really is. We know he arrested a lot of players at the weekend in the defeat to Fulham, but it was slack. Leeds, I beg your pardon. Leeds, 10 men Leeds. But it was slack. And the one thing that I see with City, and all these big hitters will come back, right? And Diaz and De Bruyne, all these guys. City's downfall, or the only thing I can see to been their downfall, is complacency in the final third. We know they've been really good defensively this year. It's unlikely they'll make stupid mistakes. Unlikely, although we saw John Stones make one for England. But I think the frustration for Guardiola gets the complacency in the final third. And by that I mean that sometimes some of their efforts at goal are half-hearted in the sense that they think they'll create one another 2 minutes, and then they'll create another, and then they'll create another. And I see Raheem Sterling sometimes recently trying to walk it in, and It's almost as if we'll get one, we'll score eventually. And without Aguero as a full-time striker this season, really, they've lacked that. They've been successful up to now, but they've lacked that real predator instinct. Because I think they'll dominate this game. But clearly, Dortmund, with some young players and with Haaland and with Royce, who, again, he scored at the weekend, with Bellingham, who was excellent in the first game. The only way I see City going out is a little bit of complacency in the domination of the game. If they are complacent, I think Guardiola could be reading the same headlines. I do not think it's a foregone conclusion, not at all.
Jules, who do you want to win this game?
It's interesting because obviously if it's Dortmund, it's the revenge from last season, the last 16, the two games, the one in Dortmund with fans, the one in Paris without fans, the sort of trolling on the goal celebration and all of that, and a bit of really ill feelings or bad feelings, whatever you say in English. If it's City, it's a very different story, very different approach for PSG. I think with Dortmund it will be quite an open game, both teams going at each other. With City, I think PSG will have to defend far more than they would do against Dortmund. So for them, I'm not sure who they would rather. I guess you take Dortmund ahead of City, but I'm not sure that's a given in the way this PSG team is playing under Pochettino. So it's quite fascinating. I agree with what Jurgen and Craig said on the second leg. I also the only thing quickly I would like to point out is, can this City team really manage a lead like that they have after the first leg? How do you play? Do you still play your high line like you did before? But we saw in the first leg on the big Erling Haaland chance in the second half that if you play too high, he can easily punish you. So what do? Do you go for it and you go like almost if it's 0-0 and you try to score and you take risk, or you don't take risk? But do you know how to do this? Because that's not really what City do. And also the last seasons when they were knocked out by Liverpool, by Spurs, they were chasing after the first leg. I'm not really sure if they know exactly how to manage the whole game like this against 90 minutes against a team that's going to run a lot, fight hard, and have a lot of talent up front.
Did you ask Jules who he'd rather have?
Yes.
As a PSG fan?
Yes, of course. And then he brings up...
I'm going to tell you straight out, Dortmund.
Of course.
There's a reason that they're fifth in the Bundesliga, and and one of them is that defensively, after a good defensive start to the season, it has to be said, and it looked as if they'd solved a few of the problems and were keeping clean sheets, it just disappeared, it dissolved. And PSG, I think, would, particularly in that final third with Mbappe running about, would take them to the cleaners. City's a different kettle of fish. If you got City on a prime night...
Jules, he's just double bluffing. He's just pretending that he doesn't mind who he gets. They're both tough.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.